Here's your money briefing for Thursday, November 2nd. I'm J.R. Whalen for the Wall Street Journal. The rise in paid time off offered by employers has resulted in workers doing less work for the same pay. Wall Street Journal economics reporter Jeffrey Sparshott joins me. So, Jeff, why are employers offering more paid time off these days?
In part because they have to. It's a very tight labor market. There are more job openings than there are people looking for work right now. That's one way an employer can differentiate him or herself. It can offer better benefits, a better life-work balance.
Last month, we discussed how younger workers are taking more sick days, and in some cases, it's frustrating their managers. But how are employers working paid time off into what they offer workers?
Statistically, it's going up. As of this spring, employers offered 80% of workers paid sick leave. That was up from 67% a decade ago. Paid vacation is up to 77% from 74%. And family leave had probably the most dramatic jump to 27% of workers from 12%. And especially smaller companies, it can be challenging, but people are learning on the fly. Scheduling software is improving. Employees are often trying to be flexible and cover for each other and make programs like this work.
Yeah, so it's not just large companies doing this.
No, smaller businesses are doing it as well. I mean, if you look at the statistics, bigger companies have it more often. Higher paid industries and higher paid employees are more likely to get these types of benefits, but it is expanding. One of the companies that I spoke with it's just a 5-restaurant pizza chain in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region. They have paid time off. Data from Indeed shows that more companies are advertising paid time off for low-wage workers as well as higher-wage workers. So it seems to be expanding. Even though the labor market is cooling off a little bit, it's still competitive and it's still a challenge to get workers.
Does this trend toward more paid time off seem permanent, or could it change if and when the labor market cools off?
It's hard to say for sure, but it seems like benefits like this, once they go into place, they tend to stick. And worker attitudes seem to have changed with the pandemic as well. So this is something that workers expect more now than they have in the past. And data from Indeed shows that more companies are advertising that they offer paid time off, paid vacation. That's continuing to trend up. So it seems like this is something that companies are doing as long as the labor market stays competitive. If we go into a recession and people start laying workers off, it's hard to say. It's hard to know what will happen next and what people will demand.
So workers and employers are seeing value in this rise in paid time off. But does it create a tricky situation for some employers who are struggling to have enough workers on hand on a day-to-day basis?
I've got some mixed responses. I mean, some people said that happy workers are more productive workers. If workers feel like they're well taken care of, they're less likely to leave, which creates less turnover. And turnover can be very expensive for companies every time you have to advertise for a new job and hire someone and onboard them. At the same time, if you only have a staff of 10 or 11 people and 2 people want to take off at the same time, that's the big chunk of your staff that you're down. So it does create scheduling challenges. It can mean lost sales for companies. It can mean that companies can't be open as often as they want. And it's not just related to this particular set of policies. In general, companies have been complaining for a long time that they can't find enough workers. You have to find the balance. How do I attract workers? How do I keep them happy? And then once I have them, how do I schedule everything and how do I manage everything? And how do I keep myself staffed up and covered?
How is this trend changing up the equation of time in the office versus time off?
What's happening is that the paid work week has held fairly steady for quite some time, for about a decade. It ramped up in the immediate aftermath of the pandemic as companies were trying to ramp back up in activity, and now it's down roughly back to pre-pandemic levels. That's how many hours per week people are getting paid for. That's right around 34 and a half hours a week. The amount of time that they're actually working has been going down, and that's been falling since 2015 roughly, and it seems to have accelerated with the pandemic. People are using their paid time off to take care of their health, take care of their mental well-being just because they can. So yes, there's a widening gap between the number of hours that people are getting paid for and the number of hours they're actually working.
How does the amount of paid time off Americans get from employers compare to workers in other countries?
Americans are still working a lot more than their counterparts. in other wealthy economy countries like Canada, the UK, or Germany, and they generally receive fewer benefits, especially fewer mandated government benefits. For example, and this is according to Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development data, U.S. workers on average per year work about 1,800 hours. In Germany, which is one of the lowest, it's 1,300 hours. So there's a huge disparity there, and it's largely benefits related.
So, Jeff, what does this mean for worker productivity?
So this whole trend toward more paid time off, the magic that can make it work is increasing productivity. If employees can get more done in a shorter period of time, either through the use of technology or through different work habits, this can work with no detriment to employers and improving work-life balance for employees.
That's Wall Street Journal economics reporter Jeffrey Sparshott. And that's it for your Money Briefing. We'll be back tomorrow morning to discuss selecting company-provided benefits in the open enrollment period without overpaying. Today's show is produced by Ariana Osbrew with supervising producer Melanie Roy. I'm J.R. Whalen for the Wall Street Journal. Thanks for listening.